Stop treating doctors like they're always right and start treating them like anyone selling you a product or service. When you're buying a car, you hire a contractor, you don't simply take someone's word for it. Your guard goes up and you become skeptical. You get multiple quotes, you read reviews, you compare your options, and you ask questions because you want to make sure you're making the right decision. But when it comes to doctors in white coats, that skepticism seems to disappear. When the doctor tells you you need an operation, a procedure, or a prescription, many consumers simply say, "Oh, okay." Let me tell you why. Because consumers have been conditioned to see the white coat as the final authority. The white coat carries influence. It creates trust, and that trust can become a very powerful selling tool that influences the decision consumers make. While other companies have to convince consumers to buy, doctors have built-in sales tools that can make it easier for them to sell the consumer. They use the same sales approach used in other industries to influence consumers to buy products and services. Let's take a look at some of these sales tools. Pain and pleasure selling sales tool. You're in pain and you're looking for pleasure in the form of relief. The act now sales approach. The sooner we do this, the better. Creating a sense of delaying could make things worse. The asking questions sales approach. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain? None of this means the medical recommendation is unnecessary. It simply means consumers should recognize the power of influence and make decisions the same way they would with any other important purchase. We'll spend days researching the right electrician, the right plumber, HVAC contractor, or auto mechanic. We'll compare roofing companies, question the solar salesperson. Our guard naturally goes up because we know salespeople are trying to persuade us. Healthcare decisions deserve the same skeptical approach. Ask questions, understand your options, seek another opinion when appropriate. Make sure you understand the benefits, the risks, and the alternatives before making an important medical decision. But keep in mind, there was a time when doctors promoted smoking and claimed it helped people relax. Can you imagine that? Cigarettes advertiser companies would put physicians in white coats and make smoking appear safe and trustworthy. Now, today we know the devastating health consequences of smoking. Now, let me tell you what happened to me. One of my biggest consumer protection lessons of my life. I had a back surgery. When I woke up, I told the doctor my hand is numb. He said, "It'll go away." Over time, it didn't. As the months passed, my hand stayed numb. It became weaker. I started to lose my hand. That's when I decided to see a specialist. One of the specialists actually said, he said, "We need to put your arm in a cast so it don't move." I said, okay. I wasn't convinced of that, so I went to another specialist, which you're supposed to do. This specialist said, and don't forget, dude, these are hand specialists. This specialist said, "I need to make an incision from your shoulder all the way down to your hand to open up the nerve. It's blocked." Now, for obvious reasons, that didn't make sense to me. I wasn't convinced. About a year and a half later of dealing with my hand and losing my hand, the strength of it, I went back to my primary doctor. I talked to him for a few minutes. He actually said, "I'm going to get you straightened out in about 8 weeks." I was shocked to hear the news. He sent me to a physical therapist that dealt with me for 3 days a week. He found tight muscles in my back and my shoulder and under my armpits. Okay? Week by week, my strength returned. Eventually, I got my arm back. One doctor recommended a cast. Another recommended major surgery. Neither were correct. Physical therapy was the answer. As consumers, we often assume that because someone is wearing a white coat, we should simply follow their advice without asking questions. But we don't do it with anyone else. Once again, when we hire an electrician, a plumber, an auto mechanic, or contractor, we ask questions. We check reviews. We compare options. We want to make sure we're making the right decision. Why? Because we know there are good professionals and there are bad professionals. There are contractors who are excellent work, and there are contractors who take shortcuts. There are mechanics who are honest, and there are mechanics who take advantage of people. The same is true with every profession, including healthcare. Let's face it, history's shown us even highly trained professionals can make serious mistakes, from misdiagnosis to unnecessary procedures, surgical errors. Raising awareness that we should start treating medical industry like any other purchase is the first step towards helping consumers protect themselves. Guys, I'm Carl. I'm the author of Sales and Tricks Exposed. The reason I'm bringing awareness to the medical field and the sales tricks that can influence our decisions is because even with all the information at our fingertips, we still hear stories of medical decisions that didn't go as planned. The lesson isn't to ignore doctors. The lesson is to stay involved, ask questions, understand your options, and make sure you're making the right decision for yourself. Stay skeptical, always. When in doubt, walk away. And I'll see you on the next episode.